Okay, we should be good.
Okay, it is 6 p.m. on June 10th, 2021. Planning Commission meeting.
How about maybe roll call?
We have myself, Jessica O'Leary, Becky Wells, Ruben Villapando Salas, and Luke Wojciechowski.
Close enough. Okay. I don't remember if there are any minutes. I don't think so.
There are, but you have citizens to be heard first, and I don't have anyone in the waiting room yet. And I
Okay.
did indicate to Nora that I did not receive any of the comment forms on the Google form. So nothing there.
Okay. And there's nobody in the waiting room waiting to be heard.
That's correct.
Okay, great.
So Nora, do we have to open and close the public hearing or just
Well,
move?
first you need to do minutes, right? There are
Yeah,
minutes.
that's what's next on the agenda. You have the May 13th Planning Commission minutes next.
Does anybody want to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I will go ahead and approve, set out a motion to approve the minutes for May 13th, 2021.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we'll do a roll call. Becky?
Aye.
Ruben?
Aye.
Luke?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Sorry, I only have one screen too, so I have to look what's next.
I think it's the public hearing probably. Right? Public hearing on the outdoor dining.
That's right. Yeah, agenda item 4, public hearing.
Okay, so at 6:03, we can open the public hearing for the outdoor dining ordinance.
Let me give a little bit of background.
Okay.
And I will mention the public comments that we have already received. So not that there's any public, well, they're public listening, hopefully. Let me see how many people are listening. I don't know. Anyway, so what this ordinance does, it's ordinance 21-21, is it amends various sections of the code to address outdoor dining in general. Right now, we don't mention it in our code at all. At one point in time, it was a conditional use, but we've gotten rid of all conditional uses. So there is no language about outdoor dining. And we want to, we definitely want to allow outdoor dining and encourage it if we can. So I've drafted some regulations that would regulate and provide sort of a framework for when you can do outdoor dining and what it looks like. And I actually sent a recent draft to you all this afternoon that has a couple little changes, thanks to Ruben, a couple little typos, and then does in the park list section, it has some additional language. So the first section of the code allows, of the ordinance, would allow like seasonal there are two kinds of outdoor dining that we're trying to address. Seasonal outdoor dining, so that's folks who maybe build a platform or put up a tent or something like that in just in the during the season when it's nice and warm. And the other is that outdoor dining, which is usually attached, but not always, but can have plastic, so it's actually can be used year round. And we have a number of those in town as well. So the ordinance just sets forth some framework for those two kinds of outdoor dining. The third thing that it does is it codifies our seasonal parklets that we put into place last year during COVID. We allowed businesses to apply for and be able to construct parklets on city right of way in order to provide seating during COVID primarily. And the direction that I got from city council was that that was something that they wanted to continue. So this is an amendment to the land use code, which will allow them to continue under certain conditions. And there are a lot of conditions and a lot of, there are handicapped issues, there's sidewalk egress and ingress things. There's, there's a lot of criteria involved if you want to do one of those. It also involves sign off by the public works director, the city engineer, the fire department, the health department, the planning department, and the building department. So it's a pretty comprehensive review. We have received 4 comments, and those 4 are all about the existing outdoor parklets that we have at 98 Center. And right now there are 2 of them. One is on 100 East and one is right on Center Street. And all 4 comments from Alberta Nelson, who's the owner of the hair salon. We have an anonymous comment, Stephanie Shepherd, and then Norm Boyd. And then they are all concerned, and Norm Boyd is the barbershop close by. So they are all concerned about the parklet on Center Street, primarily, that when people are waiting to get in, that it blocks entrances to other businesses, and then it takes up needed parking spaces, because there's a lot of different businesses in that 98 Center complex, or at least that complex where 98 Center is located. So in response to that, I added some language to the code. And if I can share my screen and figure out how to do it, I will. You probably can't see it. I don't know where the, oh no. Now I lost you guys completely. There it is. Okay, let me share my screen. Maybe. Where did it go? Here. Okay. So this is the revised ordinance. And so this is what the additional language I added that may or may not address the concerns that this is on parklets there, and to describe, we're talking about, trash needing to be dealt with, responsible for adding temporary space to their premises, business liquor licenses are their issue, business activities governed by noise and nuisance provisions. So then I added a provision as number K, or letter K, that says if a property is located on a corner, only one parklet is allowed per restaurant. The parklet will be located on the street with the lower volumes of traffic and where the parklet will least disrupt the entrances to other businesses. So I'm just putting that out there. The Planning Commission can certainly move to recommend this section of the code with or without that edit, or you can recommend that not be forwarded on to the Planning Commission. So that's basically my presentation. If you have any specific questions, and we're making these changes primarily in the C3, the C4, the resort commercial zone, the C2, I should say C2 right here. C2, C3, C4, and recreational resort commercial zone.
There may be a section up higher north that says C2. I thought when I reviewed it. Oh, no, you're right. Sorry.
It's in a different section.
Yeah.
So right here, it talks about C2.
Perfect.
And then we added some definitions And I made a correction there. So you've seen this a couple times now. It was on the agenda for the last planning commission meeting, but we did not have a quorum. So we continued the public hearing from last meeting, and here we are. Any questions?
No, but a statement to continue my pedantics. On letter K, it says parquet. Only one parquet is allowed per restaurant.
No. Dang it.
Ask that. I don't have any other questions.
There we go. All better.
Perfect piece of code.
Probably not. But and again, you know, with the parklets, I really don't know what the city council thinks about that at this point in time, since they have been hearing about complaints. So, but they are the ones that directed me to draft this section of code. So this deals with outdoor dining on site and the possibility of doing a partlet. I also included in your packet a map of all of the restaurants in town. And some of the names are wrong, and some of the businesses have changed hands. We based that on the most current business license information I had, which was, I think, in May. And there's some DBAs and those kinds of things. But you can see that most of the restaurants are, a lot of them are on Main Street. And parklets are not allowed on Main Street because it's a state highway. If you have a cross street and there's not already outdoor dining there, you are allowed to apply for outdoor dining on site. And you can consider a parklet as well, but many of the businesses along the Main Street already have some form of outdoor dining. We're trying to make those legal and conforming. So,
Thank you, Nora. Thank you for all your hard work on this. I was really happy to see that email this afternoon with that change, because I think it does address the comments that we've gotten. At least I hope it does.
and again, who knows where this will go, but we'll see. I think they're kind of fun. There aren't that many places that can do it, but where they can, it would provide them an opportunity.
Mhm. All right, if there's no other comments, we can close the public hearing.
I don't have anyone in the waiting room to comment, so you should be okay.
Okay,
Okay, closing the public hearing at 6:13.
so now it's time for you guys to make a recommendation.
May I make a motion? I move that the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council on ordinance number 2021-13 with a revised draft, an ordinance amending the text of the Moab Municipal Code to add regulation for outdoor dining by amending section 1721 C-2 Commercial Residential Zone, 1724 C-3 Central Commercial Zone, 1727 C4 General Commercial Zone, and 1731 RC Resort Commercial Zone, and by allowing consideration of parklets in the city right of way by amending section 1724 C-3 Central Commercial Zone. Associated definitions will be added to the MCC, section 1706 definitions.
It's a mouthful.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion on the table from Ruben. Becky is the second. Any further discussion?
One of the things that I saw pretty consistently amongst the public comments was regarding pets, kind of in those parklet areas, and I'm not sure how that's addressed because I get where they're coming from. And a lot of the restaurants that have outdoor dining, they're a little bit further removed from the sidewalk, whereas the parklets are kind of abutting right against it. And it's a pretty tight space, particularly with the 98 Center restaurant, where they still haven't really opened up the interior yet. There's kind of a conglomeration of people that generally wait outside waiting for a table. And I get how those tight spaces with dogs on leash and everything can lead to like escalations in situations. And I'm not sure if there's anything that we can do in terms of code about that, but just one of the things that I wanted to point out that seemed to be a pretty consistent thing amongst some of the comments.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I didn't address that. We could certainly add a criteria queue and say no dogs are allowed in parklets, or it's kind of a health department issue as well. I mean, I think technically, I'm not sure that the health department's all that wild about it, but they didn't, you know, we haven't had any comments from them on this ordinance. So if you want to ask for an amended motion, Luke, you can do that, or whatever.
The issue I see with the dogs is that a lot of people go to businesses specifically because they're outdoor seating, and that's where they can put the dogs, you know? So, I mean, it does come to the fact of if people are walking those side streets, if you have your dog, hopefully you're wary yourself if your dog's going to get into a fight himself. But past that, it is on the restaurant to kick somebody out if their dog is extra feisty. But I don't see that as a code thing.
So you would not accept an amendment?
I wouldn't.
Okay. Then we
Not one saying no dogs.
Okay. So we should probably go ahead and vote on this and then see where it goes. Roll call, I guess?
Okay, Becky,
Aye.
Luke?
Okay.
Ruben?
Aye.
Jessica? Aye. So the motion passes 4-0.
Great, thank you, guys. Oh, yeah, at the end of the meeting, I'll update you on a couple things.
Can I just clarify, Luke, was yours an aye?
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it looks like the next action item is Thompson Townhomes.
Perfect. I can take it from there. I do have a short presentation if you guys would like to see that.
I would.
My internet connection is not great. So if I am starting to putter out, do your best to notify me so I can backtrack. I know we had some problems last time with slides being on a bit of a delay, and it looks like it's on a delay right now. Here we go. Okay. Oh dear, looks like some of the slides did not upload. This introduction slide would have been the Thompson Townhomes plat, and this is from memory, addressed off of 246 East, 200 South. Property owner is TNT Enterprise, Investment Enterprise. I'm sorry, just off of memory here. Let's see if I can open up another slide for you guys to see it.
TNT Real Estate Investments.
Real estate investments. The parcel is 0.38 acres. It's in the R3 zone, multi-household residential zone. Currently a vacant lot and proposed as a multifamily 6-unit townhome. I think that about covered that slide with that information. Thanks, Ruben, for that. Everyone can see the vicinity map here. Great. Showing that location of the parcel just off of 200 South, right in the middle of that R3 zone, abutting that 400 East C5 zone a little bit over to the east there. Recorded county plat showing up right now. This is that property right here. Terrence Thompson shown as the owner on this recorded plat, with that rental location property just to the west. Here is showing the proposed draft survey plat for the townhomes with the 6 units. A fairly narrow yet deep lot, organized similar to what had been done over at the 3rd Street Townhomes, which was approved by the Planning Commission a few meetings ago. A little bit more of a narrow lot here, though, creating a little bit different layout in order to maintain that appropriate access and fire access along that west side. So here's a little bit more of a zoom of that plat area, so you can see essentially the townhome plat being similar to a condo plat, allowing for individual ownerships of each of these units of property. But with the townhome, the land associated underneath that property is tied into that platted ownership, as opposed to a condo, which would just be paint to paint. This is a ownership strategy utilized differently by developers for different reasons, whether it's makes more sense for them financing to do condos or townhomes to associate the land with those units. So that's the minor distinction there. These are excerpts.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, the project is under construction and received building permit approval. And all you're being asked to look at now is the plat, which would then go to city council and be recorded. Sorry, Corey.
No, that's perfect. Thank you, Nora. Yeah, my mouse may be frozen here. So hopefully you're seeing an excerpt from the building permit application plans. Oh, now I think I'm back to the plat. Are we seeing the plat here? Okay, so sorry, guys. Yes, this is what we're evaluating, voting on, just like the 3rd Street Townhome. So the imaging that I'm showing here of the building is just for reference of what, just for consideration of what is going there. So this is showing the layout of those properties with a slight elevation perspective, and then that straight on elevation. So covered garage parking with 2nd story living space with a little balcony that extends over that area there. Let's see if we can move on here. All right. Are you still seeing the elevation? So sorry, everyone. My computer is frozen. It looks like I'm streaming fine, but my slideshow is not responding. Well, we'll go ahead and just move right along. The next slide would have been the narrative slide, just describing what is in the agenda packet, which is basically that basic description of a 2-story, 6-unit townhome on that property. And then the background, walking through the timeline of approvals when that plan was submitted and reviewed by the development review team for the city for approvals, and then passed to the Planning Commission for recommendation, and at which point, upon recommendation, we'll move on to City Council. It doesn't look like the rest of my slides are working either, so I'll go ahead and get out of this. I'm glad I prefaced about my technology beforehand. Wasn't fibbing. That'll be a bit about it for my presentation. If we have any questions, we can certainly bring some of those slides back up. Thanks, everyone.
It seems like parking is always an issue. They have garages. Is there any overflow parking or?
In the rear of the property, the south end, working with the developer, essentially may have had enough room to potentially go to another unit, but decided he liked to have that open space and isn't clear whether they're going to develop it as green space, but for the time being had suggested it being a turnaround or extra guest parking, and then was also going to provide additional guest parking, but instead provided green space in the front of the property. Had considered parking, but so he switched those. In addition to that, though, it's a fairly narrow lot, so all of that space in front of those units will be maintained for circulation by means of access. So fire access is pretty tight, and it'll have to be open. Cars won't be able to park in front of the garage, but inside would be appropriate.
And these cannot be nightly rentals, so they are there.
Correct.
Can we say anything about trash pickup? It seems like it'd be something that would be either super deep into the property or right off of it, and blaring to the street.
Give it, yeah, with the city service not being in disposal with its private service monument waste, I'm not sure what the regulations would be. They could have a dumpster in the back, and of course, using that access way, which should be open. But then I think they could have cans as well, which would be housed on the property.
Yeah, I suspect they'll have a dumpster and they'll back the truck will back into the driveway, and is that what most condo projects are? Yes, it's beeping in the early hours of the morning. I hear it once a week.
Any other comments?
They want to be 2 stories? I mean, whether that's separate, I'm just curious. Right? They were 2-story townhomes. Decent square footage. Cool. No other questions?
Corey, you're muted.
You are.
I've gotten away almost all of the Zoom meetings without having gone down the you're muted road, but
You fell for it.
last, so of course I had to get it in. They are 2 stories. The front is shedded. It's a shed roof, so the roof would be running to the east. So the light coming from the west appears to be a taller building with the I'm not sure the technical term for those windows, the skylight windows above that, but it's only 2 stories.
All right, would anybody like to make a motion?
Sure. I move that the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation for Resolution 24-2021, a resolution for approving the townhome plat application for the Thompson Townhomes, property located at 246 East, 200 South, Moab, Utah, 84532.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All right, Summer, do you want to do the roll call?
I can, yeah. Luke,
Aye.
Ruben?
Aye.
Jesso,
Aye.
Becky?
I feel like I should recuse myself from this. I've had someone inquire about these, but I'm not actively working on anything, but I don't know where the line is drawn there.
I would ask that you not, because we don't have a quorum otherwise.
Okay, I'm not in any sort of contract or anything, but I did have someone inquire, so I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you.
So it's okay for me to vote?
Mhm.
Okay. Aye.
Thank you.
And thanks for letting us know. I mean, potentially any project could, you know.
I know it's kind of hard. I don't know.
And just for the record, that motion passes 4-0.
Cool.
All right, future agenda items.
Under this, I'm going to talk a little bit about a few other things. So Lionsback received its phase 1 and final MPD approval last Tuesday at the City Council. The vote was 4-1, 5-1. So that was approved. I don't know what you guys want to do about reopening to the public. The City Council is now holding meetings at City Hall, open to the public. We have a new policy on masking, and that is that if you are vaccinated, you don't absolutely have to wear a mask. If you are not vaccinated, you do have to wear a mask and let other people know so that they can, if they so choose. So I don't know if you guys want to start to go to live meetings or whether you want to continue with this format for a little bit. We are kind of going in and out of high transmission. So I think we can continue to do Zoom, at least for a little while, until things settle down a little bit more. So it's your choice at this point. Thoughts?
My preference, oh, sorry, Ruben.
You can go ahead.
I would say my preference is to do Zoom. I mean, I have found when I go back to watch city council meetings, it's so much easier to know who's talking and to hear the discussion and follow. And it just seems like attendance is way better. But that's my preference.
As for preference, I don't think that I can say. I would say that I'm ready either way. If we do end up moving in person, then I'm all for that.
Okay. If we go past June, the end of June, we may have to adopt some regulations, and I don't know if it's in the bylaws, it's somewhere, to allow for the electronic communication to continue, even though we're not in COVID. But we'll just kind of see how that goes. Becky or Luke, do you have a preference?
I don't really have a preference one way or another.
Okay, and the mayor, go ahead, Becky, go ahead.
It doesn't matter to me. I'm just thinking like on a public hearing where there's a lot of people signed up, it might be good to have an in-person meeting, but I don't really care.
Okay, great. Hopefully at the next meeting, I'll have the language for breweries and distilleries and brew pubs that will come to you. Corey, I don't know what else we've got out there. We've received a number of fairly new site plans that are just starting to work through the process. So we will be looking at those. We're also going to start a conversation about employee housing with the city council, and just about some kind of different ideas that we might want to consider or talk about for employee housing, both short-term and longer term. So the Planning Commission will be engaged in that discussion as well. And we may be ready to talk about that at the next meeting. We'll see. You know, we have to have I'd have to have the packet done next week. So, but we might be able to get that done so that we can start engaging in that discussion, because it's an important one to have. What else? I don't really think I have anything else.
Yeah, those site plans, a lot of them have a little bit more of a ways to go in DRT, but one was the Creekside Townhomes.
Oh, yeah.
And that likely won't be for next meeting, but likely the following after that. But
it's a project that was approved once upon a time on Cane Creek Boulevard, and it was approved. The final plat was approved, but it was never recorded, and all of the approvals expired. Some of
You just got very choppy for me.
They came in and requested a reason. I don't know if any of you were on the board then, but anyway, so they submitted the exact same plans. Different applicant, but
Creekside Apartments? Is it, what did you call them?
Creekside, no, Creekside Townhomes.
right.
And where was that at?
Sorry.
Let me see if
Cane Creek.
Yeah, it's just off of almost across from the movie theater there. There's a little piece of property that had a property information time on it for a while.
so you can't see me for a minute. You can see my keyboard.
But yeah, just as you're making the turn, it's on the right-hand side, just above the creek. So it's actually a large parcel, but with a fairly small developable area. And there was a rezone application on that in, I think, 2019.
Okay. Okay, I think I get the idea of it.
Yeah, my Google Earth is not loading, so. Sorry.
That's okay.
And there's just a little, it's actually quite a large parcel, and there's just one little tiny piece that's buildable because of some floodplain regulations. So it's 8, there are only 8 of them. It's a pretty small project.
What's the status on all the work that we did for the commercial, like the
Overnight-
North Commercial, and then we were going to continue on into the commercial zones in town, and then we were going to work on the community nodes and the residential areas. Where are we at with all that?
And stained glass.
I think everybody-
Priorities, Becky. Yeah, it's all a matter of priorities, and the council now is most concerned with affordable housing and employee housing and some of the other things that they've got going. We are going to have coming up, we're going to have a trial shuttle project that UDOT is funding pretty heavily for at least the next 3 years. So they're working on that. They continue to work on ATV stuff. We talked about they're working on speed limits. So it hasn't risen. And we asked them in a meeting a few months ago if they wanted us to sort of restart the overnight accommodations discussion. They said no. So, but Becky, I think it is appropriate probably for us to start looking at our commercial zones in town. And try to figure out, how we can encourage more commercial uses on the ground floor and then housing above. So we could probably start that work.
Wow, that's interesting. So we wasted a year's worth of meetings talking about something that's going nowhere.
Well, we still have all the information, but yes, it has gone nowhere.
That's so frustrating.
Well, and we couldn't get to any kind of consensus with the city council. So anyway, but we can, we'll see how our time breaks out here once Corey is back full time. Then I may have
No pressure, Corey.
All of the pressure.
But it's something that we can certainly talk about more in the future.
Excellent. Thank you, Nora. All right. If that is it, the meeting will adjourn at 6:38.
Good job, guys. Thank you. Thanks for